Let me tell you some things that happened on the set of the 2019 film Annabelle Comes Home. So, for starters, cast and crew experience uncontrolled nosebleeds, moving furniture, and losing electricity. So, McKenna Grace, who played Judy, experienced the most activity in her trailer. She would lock doors and they would open again by themselves, and she would even see like these strange shadows in one of the vacant rooms on set. And she would also smell strange odors coming from her trailer.
Now, most everybody knows the movie Annabelle, but did you know that John R. Leonetti, the director, actually had two paranormal occurrences happen on set? The first instance happened whenever they were prepping. They had gone into the apartment where they were filming and then noticed on a window that there were what looked like 3 fingers had drawn a line in dust on the window. What makes it really weird is that the demon in the movie, Malthus, actually has 3 fingers and 3 talons. The second instance happened whenever they had just finished filming the first scene with the demon in it. As the actor who played the demon was walking down the hallway, a giant glass light fixture fell and hit the actor who plays a janitor on the head. Now, the janitor lived, but what makes this really creepy is that in the script, in that same hallway is where the demon killed the janitor. You know, I see why you would want to film a movie on a haunted set, but that also feels like playing with a loaded gun, and I ain't doing it.
Welcome forward to another video. As you see in the title, you already know what's going on. We ain't gonna do no talking. Let's get straight into it, because today we talking about Annabelle, but on the next video we're gonna be talking about that plantation and why they think Annabelle did it. But first we need to understand what Annabelle is, what's going on, what's the stories behind it, even going to the movie set and all the crazy stuff that was happening as they was filming the movie. Get your snacks, popcorn, tea, whatever you need. Y'all see me, I'm watching this in the daytime, but if you're watching this at night, good luck.
Tonight's movie is Annabelle Comes Home. This one in particular had far more paranormal occurrences than the first. McKenna Grace, the actress who played Judy Warren, had woke up one morning with a triangular scar on her forehead just where her hairline starts. She was really freaked out, and the director had convinced her that she had been abducted by aliens. A creepy coincidence, but whenever she was going over what happened, a car had drove by with an alien sticker on it. McKenna also stated that one point in time the power had gone out on set, and everybody kept asking, "Are you there, Annabelle?" The lights suddenly cut back on, and she had the heaviest nosebleed she's ever had. She said because of allergies, she gets them from time to time, but never as bad as that day. They also had things moving by themselves like piano benches in the artifact room, so they had a priest come and bless the Warrens' artifact room. A member of the production team also claims that his watch went haywire one day, and so he took it off, and come to set the next day, it was working just fine. To add to it all, there were also strange power outages in each of the actors' trailers, where they reported seeing a dark, shadowy figure. Along with this figure came a foul smell that went away with the lights coming back on. Then finally, as they were getting ready to wrap up production, McKenna was going around with her camera and taking pictures. Every time she would try to take a picture that had Annabelle in it, she had a black spot over her, so she wasn't visible in any of the pictures. There were also several other little things that happened, but this seems to be a common theme in the Conjuring universe movies.
However, every picture she took of Annabelle would come out black, and in a photo she took with Patrick Wilson, a black mark appeared on the cross he had been wearing for the film. While filming a scene in which McKenna Grace and Madison Eisman walked down a hallway, they would hear 3 knocks from a nearby door each time they did the take. When they opened the door, Annabelle was sitting inside on a rocking chair. Thinking it was a prank, the girls thought nothing of it and reshot the scene. The knocks came again, and this time when they opened the door, the chair was empty.
I would say I shouldn't have done this, but I did it, and it ended up being great. But I lit an intention candle the night that before I found out that I booked this, and you basically write down your intention on a candle, what you want. It's like a success candle, and I wrote something like, "I hope I book Annabelle," and the candle, the rim of the candle, because you light the paper, it lit on fire, and it was dancing. My friends had 2 candles as well. Theirs were fine. Mine was weird. And so at that moment, I was like, oh, some spirit is coming after me, because like the flames are just dancing, and the wick kept going out. It was so weird, but it ended up being a good sign. It meant I got what I was asking for already. So yeah, but worked out. But don't go in creepy rooms and touch things that you're not supposed to do.
So, like, during the set, or when you shoot, like, movies and stuff, there's, like, something spooky that happened during the set and everything. Was there anything, like, spooky or crazy that happened during when you were shooting this film?
There was this one scene where we were rehearsing we were rehearsing a scene where we're running out of the artifact room, and there's a cross next to the door. And when we shut the door, just the Jesus of the cross, flew across the room. The cross remained on the thing. We all stopped and paused for a while because it was super weird. You know, he's like nailed literally to the cross. And so that was so weird. I said,
They were trying to do a trick on you guys, or
no. Everyone was absolutely in complete shock. And then there were times where we would see Annabelle kind of in different places around. Swear, I don't know if someone was doing it, but she would show up. There was one day where she was like in different areas, so that was super.
sometimes when you shoot like a scary movie, there's like spooky things that happen during the set. Was there anything that like was like crazy or spooky during the set?
I mean, there were like a handful of things. The number one thing that terrified me was in my dressing room. Sometimes my lights just wouldn't turn on, and I'd press it like on, off, turn around and walk away, and then they just come on. I'm like, all right, like I did not sign up for this. And like when we would shoot in the artifact room, sometimes they'd always have to have the cameras hardwired because the wireless signals wouldn't work. Only in the artifact room, you're like, okay. There were a couple things that were a little creepy. I'd read my lines at night sometimes and just couldn't sleep. So
we were all together on the set for the first time, running scenes and stuff, and all of a sudden the lights went off, and we were like, Annabelle, are you here? That's what we started saying, and then all of a sudden the lights, they got turned back on, but my nose was bleeding really bad, and we were like, whoa. And then I had to leave to go and get tissues and stuff, so as soon as I stepped outside of the stage, it just stopped. And that really freaked me out, because that was like the first day. So I was like, I can tell this is going to be interesting.
Taught me one time when I was little, and I was trying to do probably a love spell. I was boy crazy. Some love spell or something. She found the paper, and she made me sit down, because I come from a very Catholic family. I'm no longer Catholic, but whatever. She made me sit down and watch a documentary on like real life witches, and they were talking about how they and all this stuff, like, traumatized me into never wanting to do it again until I was older. And then I like bought an intention candle, and it's fun, but I've always been fascinated in it, clearly.
Call it a coincidence, call it whatever you want. Annabelle, one of the most haunted and demonic things on this planet, is on tour. And it was just in New Orleans, Louisiana, and you won't believe what happened. That, my friends, was the Nottoway Plantation, and it was one of the largest remaining antebellum plantation homes in the U.S. And it's located in Louisiana, and it happened on the 15th, which was the day after Annabelle left. Now, the fire is believed to have started in the attic area of the mansion's central section. Weird. And no injuries are reported, and the cause of the fire remains under investigation by local fire officials. You have to understand something about this doll. It's evil. Now, if you want to know the power of this doll, listen to this story. Ed Warren and his wife, who were paranormal investigators, actually bring this doll back to their home. And at one point, a young priest came over and picked Annabelle up, told her that it was just a doll that couldn't do anything, and tossed it back in the chair. Now, on his way home, his brakes failed at a busy intersection, and he was in a terrible collision that was near fatal and totaled the car. That's the power of this doll. Now, the reason why they call this doll Annabelle is because one of the first mediums to touch this thing said that it was possessed by a young girl named Annabelle. But they later found out that it was possessed by a very, very powerful demonic entity. So why they're touring this thing, I have no clue. But I find it very interesting that one of the most historical spots in Louisiana burned to the ground. Usually these places are protected, so that doesn't happen. But the attic, and they still don't know the cause? There's your cause. Whether you believe it or not, I think this thing's more powerful than people think.
This is the story of the real-life Annabelle doll. So all the way back in 1970, a mother decided to give her daughter a Raggedy Ann doll for her 28th birthday. Now her daughter, who was named Donna, was thrilled to get the doll, and after her birthday, she took it back to her apartment. Now when she first brought the doll back, everything was fine. But before too long, some strange things started to happen with this new Annabelle doll that the woman had brought home. Both Donna and her roommate Angie started to notice that some strange things were going on with this new Annabelle doll. Donna would often leave Annabelle in her living room and then leave for work. And then once she returned home, she would find Annabelle in her bedroom with the door shut. Then Donna and her roommate Angie both started to notice notes left around their apartment. These notes said, "Help me," and were apparently written on parchment paper, which was very strange because neither of the women kept parchment paper in their home. In another incident, Angie and her boyfriend Lou were alone in the apartment when they heard rustling in Angie's room as if someone had broken in. Now, both Angie and her boyfriend went to check and see what was going on and making the noise, and they found nothing other than Annabelle lying face down on the ground. Lou also claims that Annabelle apparently attacked him in his sleep one time, as one day he woke up from a nap and found claw marks running across his chest that disappeared 2 days later without a trace. Following this incident, both Angie and Donna decided to invite a medium over to their apartment, and the medium told them the Raggedy Ann doll had been inhabited by a spirit of a girl named Annabelle Higgins. Apparently, Annabelle Higgins had passed away on the site where the women's apartment was built. Now, this medium claimed that the spirit of Annabelle simply wanted to be loved and cared for, but love could not be further from what this spirit actually wanted. After hearing this, both Donna and Angie felt bad for the spirit and wanted to make it feel loved and cared for. So they decided to keep Annabelle and allowed the spirit to take up permanent residence within the doll. Eventually, though, they wanted to have the doll exorcised, and they called on a priest to remove the spirit from the doll. Now, this priest is responsible for contacting both Ed and Lorraine Warren, who decided to visit the girl's apartment and see Annabelle for themselves. Now, Ed and Lorraine felt that Annabelle was not simply a spirit that wanted to be loved, but rather a demonic force in search of a human host. According to their beliefs, spirits do not possess inanimate objects. Spirits only possess people. And as far as they were concerned, Annabelle was looking for a human host. Now, when the Warrens got involved, they quickly ordered an exorcism of the apartment, and they decided to take Annabelle to their museum, where she still resides today. But even though Annabelle was taken from her first home and put behind glass, her reign of terror was just starting to begin. You see, in the car ride on the way to the museum, Ed and Lorraine decided to put Annabelle into the back seat. And they claimed that doing this was a big mistake, because while Annabelle was in their back seat, they claimed that their brakes either failed or stalled several times, which almost resulted in them crashing their car. Because of this, Ed decided to douse the doll in holy water, and as soon as he did that, the problem with the brakes completely disappeared. Now, when Ed and Lorraine got home, they decided to put Annabelle in their study, and according to them, the doll levitated and moved around their house. Even after they decided to place Annabelle in a locked office and an outer building, they claimed that she would still turn up inside of their house. This is when they decided to have a special glass container made for Annabelle so that she would never be able to move again. But sadly, Annabelle was still not done with her reign of terror. You see, there was once a priest who decided to visit the Warrens, and this priest decided to not only pick up Annabelle, but he also mocked her. Now, Annabelle made 100% sure to get her revenge on this priest, as on his way home from visiting the Warrens, he totaled his new car and almost passed away from the accident. He also claimed to see Annabelle in his rearview mirror just before the accident. Years later, another visitor decided to tap on Annabelle's case and laughed at how silly people were to believe in her. After this, the man and his girlfriend decided to get on his motorcycle and drive home, but very tragically, the man lost control of his motorcycle and hit a tree. The man sadly did not make it, and his girlfriend barely survived the accident. The girlfriend says that at the time of the crash, they had both been laughing about the Annabelle doll.
Except that this doll was used in communication, almost like having a seance.
Mm-hmm.
A nurse had received the doll 1971. They were on the same shift, and so they worked together, they lived together, they shared the expenses. And one morning she got this idea to bring the doll from the bedroom into the kitchen where they were having breakfast, and she put it in a chair. They're talking to the doll, and the arms of the doll are on the chair like this. Suddenly they went up and onto the table. Now this didn't frighten them. This intrigued them, to the extent that the one nurse said to the other one of the nurses knows a medium. Let's ask her about this. I'll bet you there's a spirit in that doll. That's what they did. Things would happen in their house, what we refer to as infestation. There'd be knocking sounds. They'd see flashing lights in their bedroom at night, shooting across the room. The bed would shake a little bit. It would get icy cold. They'd hear whispering, which we call magic whispering. They'd leave the doll in the bedroom. They'd come home after midnight, put the key in the door, unlock the door, and who do you think is standing there? The Raggedy Ann doll.
Standing there.
Now, that doll has flimsy legs.
Yeah.
You try to stand it up, you can't. But I've seen that doll stand. I've seen a lot of things happen around that doll. Well, this still didn't scare them. But one of the fiancés of one of the girls was against all of this. He said, burn the doll, throw it away, get rid of it. It's evil. Well, he falls asleep one afternoon, a Saturday, and the doll is in a chair not far from him, and the girls are cleaning up the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
He wakes up with a start. He said, my God, what a nightmare. He said, I dreamt that doll was strangling me. He had marks on his throat. Was it psychosomatic? Well, let's see. He gets up, he looks at the doll in the chair, picks it up, and throws it right across the room. You're nothing but a rag doll. You couldn't hurt anyone. With that, Tony, 7 psychic slashes appear on his body.
Wow.
Now, we've seen these kind of slashes. We've filmed them. These slashes come from nowheres. The blood came right through his shirt. The nurses witnessed this. Then, a huge chair rolled across the room. Pictures on the walls came off, started smashing and breaking. Loud pounding sounds. Now they were all frightened. They called the High Episcopal Canon in Hartford, Connecticut. He called Father Richard Nolan, an exorcist, and Father Nolan called us.
Okay, so now that we have a little background on the stories of Annabelle, guess what she's up to now? Or what paranormal investigators are doing. They're taking her on tour.
The real Annabelle doll is on tour and people are not going for it. Now let's talk about it. Now I'm sure we are all familiar with Annabelle from the Conjuring franchise, and yes, she is a real life doll, and in real life she is a Raggedy Ann doll, not a porcelain doll. She's been in Ed and Lorraine Warren's occult museum for years in this glass contained box that was specifically built to keep her in there forever. The box is literally prayed over every week. It is covered in scriptures, like they wanted this doll to be contained. But since Ed and Lorraine Warren aren't here with us anymore, they thought it would be fun to take her on a world tour to basically different haunted locations across the states. Even after Ed and Lorraine has stated several times to never move this doll. So one of her first stops was at this Virginia State Penitentiary that is known to be very haunted. And this was their first time bringing haunted artifacts in the Virginia State Penitentiary. It's already alleged to have a lot of paranormal activity going on. So you're just gonna bring more paranormal stuff to a paranormal place? I don't get it. Then she visited New Orleans. Now all this stuff going on. Some prisoners done broke out. The Nottoway plantation done burnt down. I'm telling y'all, it's Annabelle. She doing it. And now they just recently slowly transported her to San Antonio, Texas. Some type of psychic festival. And this is like the farthest and like longest she's ever been. Like she's traveled in over a decade. And I know some people are like, Ed and Lorraine used to travel with her. Yeah, they were expert demonologists. They would take her to some places just to show the importance of like, that this stuff is real. And to warn people of the dangers of the occult and paranormal world. But they just trying to make a quick buck because there's actually people going to visit this. Now, when y'all go home and a bunch of weird stuff start happening, that's going to be y'all fault. Now, it's said that the doll is handled by a man named Daniel Rivera. He wears gloves with crosses on them with saint medals in the fingertips, and it's said that he built a new case for her that is better suited for her to move around. So that means they had to take her out of the box that say positively do not open and put her in a new box. But Child Rivera said he added extra protective measures, including cutting out crosses on 3 sides, representing the Catholic Holy Trinity, also using different holy waters and while praying at the same time.
This is absolutely crazy. They moved Annabelle to West Virginia State Penitentiary. Keep in mind, this is no longer an active prison. It's a tourist attraction known for its paranormal activity. And they're like, let's bring the scariest thing we got on deck to this place. There was 90 executions and hundreds of inmate deaths at this penitentiary. They've been opening up her case, which you're not supposed to open, and letting people interact with Annabelle. 2025 is about to get a whole lot crazier. When I say this is a hotspot, I don't mean that lightly. If you go there, you can expect to hear voices, see shadows, see objects move. If there's any ghosts in this world, it's definitely at this penitentiary.
They say they did this for psychic research, but I honestly think it's because they're so desperate to sell movie tickets, and we all know The Conjuring's gonna come out soon. They're like, what's the craziest thing we've got? And Annabelle was it. This is all PR for their movie. They say they have safety measures in place, but if it's not Ed and Lorraine, you guys are absolutely screwed.
Y'all, I don't know. I don't know what's like, why. At this point, since we got the background, now we're going to review what exactly happened in the locations that she visited and after effects of happening in the locations that she visited. There are also people online who are saying that Annabelle is a black woman trapped inside of the doll, and that's why the plantation blew up. Let's get into this next video. I'ma see you there.